Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is DB333, and welcome back to Hearts of Iron 4, The New Order, Last Days of Europe. Now, in the last video, Richard Nixon resigned, and so we had John F. Kennedy take control of the office. And he was preparing to lead the nation into a better place, a more united place. And then they fucking shot him, and now here we are with John W. McCormick. Let's take a look at McCormick. For most presidents, their inauguration is a culmination of years of political ambition and success, bringing them to the highest office in the land and a chance to ultimately shape the nation to their ideals. Former Speaker of the House John McCormick is not one such president. Rushed out of Congress and into the White House on the day of panic and blood, he is faced with a nation in turmoil. Outrage over President Nixon's actions on civil rights has shattered any semblance of political decorum in Congress, with constant shouting matches taking more time than legislation. The people have made their voice heard as well, with riots and protests breaking out weekly, and voters changing their registration to support the radicals of the NPP. McCormick has isolated himself in the White House, only speaking to trusted aides and friends on the matters affecting the nation, and leaving his deputies to calm the turbulent waters America is headed for. Facing a nation in crisis, the divisive issue of segregation, and the rapidly escalating war in South Africa, the reluctant president's next days in office will change the nation's direction for years to come. I would not want to be John McCormick right now. Especially because I don't think he has chocolate milk right now, and I do right now. And that makes me feel a whole lot better about this. Let's see if we can't try to trap a few guys, maybe? There we go. So we're going to take up to modern-day Namibia. We're going into Zimbabwe, or Rhodesia if you're racist. Going up to Zambia, and we're moving into Mozambique. A fair deal, a square deal. There goes Spear. Ladies and gentlemen, the McCormick presidency. A president in disgrace, another president shot dead, a country in chaos, an election barely a year away. To say that the situation of the Republican Democrats is dire would be the understatement of a century. Enter former Speaker of the House, John McCormick, a man who never expected to hold the reins of power, who has regardless found them thrust into his hands. As such, a dark moment in American history, McCormick will certainly have his work cut out for him. With the election approaching, McCormick's tenure as president will be short. He has no intentions of running in the office and running in the election, instead simply resolving to hold the Oval Office for the coming months until a new commander-in-chief can be nominated. However, with his party in shambles and the National Progressive Party making unprecedented gains, he intends to use his brief tenure to try and right the ship and save the RDs from ruin. The tarnished legacy of Nixon will need to be addressed, a matter President Kennedy was unable to attend to in his tragically brief rule. The fallout of the South African War that Nixon thrust the country into will need to be carefully managed as well. If McCormick can successfully pull out the flames that his party is currently engulfed in and restore some semblance of dignity to government, the RDs may just manage to pull through, or at the very least, survive absolute electoral decimation. Well, there we go. Federation of Nova Siberia skin the Altai declared war on Central Siberia. I mean, I give them the best of luck. It would be nice to see the guys with new content pull through. And actually, it looks like they might just take Tomsk. Despite his best efforts, Robert F. Kennedy could not hold back his tears. He was supposed to give a big speech about his brother's legacy, about the strength and dedication of his character. Now he was an example to all with the knowledge of power. That was true enough, but as he sat in the holding area, awaiting his cue, he could not only think of John as a brother he had looked up to, his greatest inspiration, his closest friend. He wondered if he should just call it off, so great was his grief and anger. John was killed because he was a president. He was only the president because of the RDs, because of Nixon lying like a bitch and doing everything in his power to stop progress and change, killing the Civil Rights Act, and forcing John to step up to the firing line in the most damnably literal way. The party had chewed him up and spat him out. They had used him just like they had used the entire Kennedy family and dragged their name through the mud. When a staffer poked their head into the room to wave him on stage, Robert stilled his tears and prepared to give what would become one of the most shocking speeches of his career. After slowly ascending to the podium, he addressed the assembled crowd, giving a short but passionate eulogy in honor of his brother, extolling his candor, his way with words, and his dedication to America. The crowd nodded along, some cried, some bowed their heads, but none of them could have prepared what came next. My brother was loyal to the Republican Democrats through and through. He was loyal as he made every effort to avoid bringing this country true equality and justice. He was loyal as they charged blindly into unnecessary and bloody war in Africa. He was loyal as he was ignored until the time they needed a man to clear up their mistakes, and he was loyal as the fallout of their ignorance resulted in the loss of his life. He paused as many of the crowd stared agape. At least two from the party mouthed words of astonishment and curses at him. His next line would live on in infamy. I was loyal to the Republican Democrats also. That ends today. Hell hath no fury, like a brother scorned. Damn. Damn! Let's move in here. Wipe him out. A solid NPP campaign. Well done, everyone. Wow, Texas is a toss-up. Holy shit. Save RD victory for... That's probably... Yeah, that's LBJ, I think. Which makes sense, but the rest, holy crap, I did not expect that. Let's take a poo-woo. Let's trap this poor little guy. World is just bare organ, which the Lord God turns on himself. We all have to dance to the tune, which is already on the drum. Well. Red, white, and blue balloons have colonized the roof of the Republican Democrat Convention Hall, where, as a booming commotion indicates, the parties come to decide who will be the RT's next presidential candidate. Ignoring the no-hoppers, the two frontrunners are Republican Lyndon Johnson and Democrat Wallace Bennett. Young men wearing all the way with LBJ and Bennett for America badges glare at each other through wafting cigarette smoke. Of course, as it always has since the Senate of Rome, the real decision-making takes place behind closed doors in a meeting room far removed from the hurly-burly of the convention hall, where a handful of craggly white-haired men smoke cigars and ponder which man would be more likely to play ball with the big dogs. If they're going to get past Nixon's disgrace in the year of 3 presidents, they need a candidate who'd be able to galvanize the public and counter the suddenly powerful NPP. Puffing away, they made the decision of who might govern the U.S. for the next 4 years, like they were deciding what to have for dinner. Wallace Bennett can provide us stability, so we'll do it. Let's get chocolate milk. Yeah, I'm feeling better already. I mean, losing JFK was rough, but what are you gonna do, I guess? Oh, the opposition is finally campaigning. Holy shit, I was about to say. Oh, wait, no? I was thinking doing the Rockies. Jared, we'll go ahead and do the Rockies. Put the music back on. I realized I was quiet for a while, and I'm thinking, let's get some music back going. John McCormick never wanted this. His career had been the most successful for sure, as he had always wanted to serve the country and the party. In his tenure as Speaker of the House, he performed admirably, if he did say so himself. Then Nixon lied, and Kennedy died, and suddenly this Boston-born son of a hod carrier found himself thrust into the highest office of the land. The days seemed to blur together as he struggled to gather himself. The Oval Office was a whirlwind of activity, endless lines of politicians and secretaries rushing to give him the lay of the land. More rioting in the South, cried one. Latest casualty reports of South Africa, Mr. President, said another. The podium of the press conference was another beast. He lost count of the amount of times he had uttered the phrase national tragedy and difficult times for us all in front of flashing cameras over the next few days. Finally, whenever he found himself a brief moment to relax, he would pick up the newspaper and read about the grim poll forecast and the endless rumor mills and countless reports of anti-war protests and continuing civil rights clashes and the end lines of coffins returning from overseas. One night, sleep truly eluded him, and he found himself in the Oval Office, sitting in darkness save only for the lights flooding in from White House lawn. His presidency would not be a successful one. He accepted that. He made no plans to run the election to try and legitimize or extend this rule. Perhaps he could steady the nation well enough that he who came after him could be within a shot of triumph. Stealing himself away, the caretaker president prepared for the ordeal ahead. All we can do is try. Let's try to remain calm. The shock and uncertainty sparked by the wave of scandals and tragedies the party has experienced has not only shattered the public's confidence in us, it has frayed the tenuous bond that hold the various fractions of the party together. With so many of the Democrats, and even a few Republican senators, openly wondering if the continued existence of the United Party is beneficial to anyone, drastic action must be taken to pull the party together if we are ever have a hope of salvaging this election. President McCormick will need to wrangle the squabbling factions into presenting a united front against the chaos America finds itself in. Restoring that party unity will be critical to allay the nation's panic and prevent a mass defection of voters from the Republican Democrats. This is the best I can try. Right now, discontent is pretty low. With the election drawing nearer, and Americans across the land trying to determine who they will select for the highest office in the land, we believe it's our duty here at WCCO to help the residents of the Minneapolis-St. Paul area to fulfill their civic duty. To that end, WCCO has offered the Republican Democratic Party, the National Progressive Party, and small third parties the chance to send a representative to come on and discuss their party's platform, and now their candidates would serve the nation's best in the weeks coming to Election Day. One of the biggest issues facing a nation of 64 elections is civil rights. This is a hot-button issue for the past few years and resulting in fierce and acrimonious debates within both of the national parties and between the North and South, conservative and liberal. Further fuel on the fire was given to the issue of civil rights with President Nixon's veto of the Civil Rights Act, torpedoing the major efforts by Congress to solve the problem in a bipartisan manner. Joining us this evening is National Progressive candidate and war hero Winfield S. Cunningham for discussion regarding the Civil Rights Act in America. So, Captain Cunningham, what is your view regarding the President's actions regarding vetoing the Civil Rights Act? America needs to move forward to integration, not eternal racial division. The NPP's head office was as empty as Robert Kennedy entered. He helped himself to a seat and sat patiently as he waited for an indeterminate amount of time. He wondered if what he was doing was too much, or if anyone would take him seriously, given that he had been an establishment stooge for far too long. Still, he had to try. Finally, the door to the office swung open, and walked Scoop Jackson, followed closely by his underlings Neuberger and Harrington. The three regarded Kennedy curiously yet hopefully as they sat opposite him, each shaking his hand in return. Scoop was the first to speak. This is certainly unusual, but I hear good things about you, Mr. Kennedy. We have a few questions for you before we go any further. Over the next 20 minutes, the impromptu Center Committee picked Robert's brains over a wide variety of issues. How committed are you to the Civil Rights Act? Asked Scoop. You agree that the state of healthcare in this country is disgraceful? Asked Carrington. Don't you think this country should do something more to protect the economy? Asked Neuberger. It felt almost like a college debate club, but Robert answered all these questions thoroughly enthusiastically. As our questioning came to a close, Robert spoke up. The Republican Democrats no longer represent this country, nor are they willing to do what's necessary for the people. I want you to join you, because I feel like you represent the change that I believe in, and the change that my brother believed in. Scoop glanced sideways to his associates. Neuberger nodded with a smile. Harrington paused, then gave a small nod in assent. Scoop beamed brightly. It seemed they had finally found the man he was looking for. Mr. Kennedy, how would you like to be president? Kennedy crosses the aisle. Surf mania. All right. As a tidal wave from the Pacific is sweeping over the nation, a musical one. The California mythos seems to have gripped the heart of every boy and girl in the country. They simply can't get enough of everything West Coast. Hollywood is cranking out films like Elvis Presley's Viva Las Vegas and Blue Malibu. It feels like every new sitcom on TV is set in LA, and any record with the word surf in the title is selling like hotcakes. It's even had an interesting rebound effect, where some of the rock and roll and folk bands that these surf rockers are admiring are achieving a boost in popularity by association, while musicians like Jan and Dean, Dick Dale, the Ripcords, and Ronnie and the Daytonas are joining various levels of success across the nation. It's clear that the true winners of Surfmania are the Beach Boys. Their celebrity has reached a fever pitch with legions of devoted fans following the surf rock band's every move. All of their concerts have been played to sold-out stadiums, packed with screaming fans. They constantly perform on variety shows like The Ed Sullivan Show, and public appearance is followed by a swarm of paparazzi, and their every action is chronicled by dozens of fansies. Fans in Iowa strap surfboards to their car. The shouting at the band's concerts is so loud that it's almost impossible to hear them sing, and tens of thousands of teenage girls were rendered inconsolable when Brian Wilson proposed to his girlfriend, Marilyn Rovell, because it meant he was out of the dating game. Some say that this is a collective hysteria sweeping our nation's youth. Others say that it's society's way of processing the recent political upheaval by immersing itself in an idealized form of Americana. Others just think it's got a really catchy beat. But whatever the reason is, it's clear that surf rock is here to stay. It's a genuine fact that surfers rule, after all. Man, honestly think we're probably gonna have to chill out a little bit on the pushes, because I do not want to get the, we're gonna take some, token withdrawals. Honestly, I think we might be doing too good a job. I'm hoping that we can hold out so we can get the peace conference, because I do not want to deal with, the protectorates. I'm kind of tempted to. I have a feeling it's just going to make things more complicated. Alright, well, we can take a look. Generally, Nebraska's a toss-up, which is fascinating to me. Arizona has a far-right NPP incumbent. What? Wesley Bolin, what happened there? What happened to, what's his name? I don't know. All I do know is that it's looking exceptionally good for the RDs, or the RDs, the NPP. And honestly, I think we're kind of going to have to. Because usually the play here is that you want to go ahead, if you want the NPP, you want to go ahead and do Soul and Torment to make him look better than the progressives, and do the Saving Nixon's Legacy. But I'm honestly thinking we kind of have to help the RDs out a little bit if we want Glenn. Which, remember, that's the goal of us all. We want John Glenn, ladies and gentlemen. Healing a broken nation. With a party restored to some semblance of cohesion, we must work to win back the American people. With confidence in the party still gravely damaged, President McCormick must move quickly to prove that we are still the best choice for a better American future. Though dedicated and clear-headed leadership, he will show the people that the RDs are capable of guiding the nation through the crises we find ourselves in. McCormick will also need to deal with the Senate NPP, who have taken full advantage of the crisis facing us to rocket back up the opinion polls. If their rise is to be halted, we will need to outmaneuver them in both words and policy, proving that we are truly the only real option to carry America forward. You know, you guys can try. Ooh. The NPP convention concluded today with perhaps one of the greatest shocks in the American political system since the unification of the RDs and the rising of the NPP itself. After multiple ballots, with candidates representing each of its main factions of the party, including George Wallace, Michael Harrington, and Scoop Jackson, a clear winner emerged: Robert Francis Kennedy. Hal Bobby Kennedy, the brother and chief of staff of former President John F. Kennedy, the seventh of 9 children of former President Joseph P. Kennedy, and was President Nixon's campaign manager in 1960, he took the nation in storm with an explosive speech criticizing the party of his father and brother for failing to live up to the people, became a standard bearer of the opposition party just 4 years later. Is still a shock that many are still trying to come to terms with. Perhaps it was a sidelining of his brother as scandal engulfed the White House. Perhaps to simply make a clean break from the corruption of the current administration and of his own past to serve the nation. The answer may be that Robert was infuriated with the president vetoing the Civil Rights Act, stalling if not ending the dream of equality for all races. The issue, which RFK has championed since he first got into politics, managed to obliterate his close competitor, the segregationist George Wallace. In his victory speech, Robert Kennedy made his full support for the civil rights adamant. We must recognize the full human equality of all our people before God, before the law, and in the councils of government. We must do this not because it is economically advantageous, although it is. Not because the law of God commands it, although they do. Not because the people in other lands wish it so. We must do this for the single and fundamental reason that is the right thing to do. Already RFK has great support across the nation, from African Americans seeking to end the terrors of Jim Crow, blue-collar workers that seem as the strongest advocate, progressives wishing to make the U.S. a more equal society, and millions more that just want to banish the corruption and dirty politics of Nixon to the history book as fast as possible. It just remains to be seen if this can translate into victory in November. Will RFK finally get the NPP into the White House? Well, let's take a look. They have 4 divisions. They have 5 to 7. Oh, God. Yeah, we're going to have to. This has been we've fucking steamrolled them. We've done too good of a job. Oh, my God. I think we'll just speed 5 it for now. Polls are updated. How's it looking? Leaning, toss-up. I'll let New England be. The Rockies, alright, toss-up. We have a fair few toss-ups. At this point, we're more than likely to win, so I'm not sweating too much. We might go ahead and... Where do we want to campaign? Maybe the Great Lakes, just to be safe. Kentucky, Upper South, maybe good. Maybe the Deep South. Here's the thing. We kind of want to save the RDs right about now. So we'll have to be very careful on how we proceed. Some more civilian factories. We got the economy. Let's get civilian spending again. A stellar NPP campaign. This is sad at this point. Oh my god. Hey. I think we have to acknowledge he was a crook. Richard Nixon was not just a crook. He was a crook in denial. Not only did he commit acts of unacceptable corruption, he refused to accept responsibility and denied any involvement until the truth was practically forced out of him by the courts. This is not a man the RD should ever associate their image with, and in the interest of showing that justice still reigns in the land, he must face the consequences. Nixon will be given no pardon, condemning him to face indictment and punishment. He will be treated as any other corrupt official would be treated, and made an example of to America at large. His more diehard supporters may not appreciate this, but unlike Nixon, President McCormick is not afraid to speak the truth. He is a crook. Now I'm gonna save right here, just because. Oh shit. Like I said, we gotta be very careful if you want to save the RDs. Yatkas save the Aryan Brotherhood. Coming Soviet Republic versus Comey's kind of hanging in there, goddamn. Vyatka's looking pretty thick. Magadan is hanging in there. We have a Divine Mandate. Looking pretty solid. Air Force Grant. Man, we need some... Okay, Borman's probably going to win soon. For American observers, the Adriatic Basin, with the half-abandoned villages, mottling dry plains, and brush at the rolls for miles without end, strikes similar to the long-gone days of our own Wild West. Much like the frontier, Adriatic is ripe with outlaws and constabularies, saloons of sin and banks of marble, and poor settlers caught in the middle as they toil a miserable living out of a sand streaked with blood and oil. Never in that present has there been a depiction of this mythical age truer than Italy's youngest province. Italian filmmaker Sergio Leone demonstrated his awareness of such when he released For a Few Dollars More later this year, featuring up-and-coming Hollywood actor Clint Eastwood as a rough, tough-speaking mercenary. The movie brought new life to an old genre while introducing its own refreshing themes. Standoffs between lawmen and bandits in desolate mining towns were joined with the ambitions of laconic bounty hunters and long-held grudges, tied together in a captivating plot centered around a heist. Though the film depicted America's Old West, the conflicts it had shown resonated with the Italian pioneers seeking their fortunes in the country's new frontier. Despite less than stellar reception from film critics for its over-the-top and campy violence, the film nonetheless broke records by reaching $14 million to the film's gross net revenue, proving that there is a place for now termed spaghetti westerns in the free world silver screens. Already rumored about of a sequel, and directors and studio hints of filming their own reimaginations of a bygone era in the very same savannas that evinced its stories in the hearts and minds of millions. Long shall the world remember Manco's name. There we go. We might want to start buying back our arms, honestly. Yeah, we're gonna buy back our arms. Sorry, guys. We can't have you win this hard. I address the nation tonight, to respond to the questions and inquiries of many Americans who are seeking clarity and answers in regards to many of the most pressing issues regarding the United States. While there are some details that I cannot talk about, as they are classified in order to protect the U.S., I will provide whatever information I can. Many letters mailed to the White House have touched on foreign affairs, and tonight I will address several of those issues. By far the most numerous letters, such as this one, by Frank K. of Oakland, California, have to do with the Japanese occupation treaty ports in San Francisco and Los Angeles. I write to you tonight in regards to the treaty ports of California. It is a national disgrace that we have allowed Japan to control two of the most vital ports of our Pacific coast, strangling our trade throughout the world, even though not a single Nazi or Jap stepped foot on American soldier at all during the war except as a prisoner of war. Why have we not reclaimed our rightful territory or even tried to do so since the end of the war? Has America become cowards in the face of imperialism and dictatorship? Well, Frank, and the hundreds of others that have written in, and thousands more across the U.S. that are asking the same question, I will say, Japan will face our power in due time. I think that'll help us, right? I hope so. Honestly. Here's good old man de Gaulle. Still too angry to fucking die. Bormann has conquered Goring. There we are. Where do we want to campaign? I'm thinking... Oh, here's my question. Okay, so the far right is the incumbent, so we're not getting rid of Goldwater. Deep South. You try the Upper South, maybe. We'll work on the West Coast. Just lock that down for now. I think. He was a crook, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's time to try to move past Nixon. The past is regrettable. We must not waste time lingering on mistakes. The key to redeeming oneself from scandal is not to wring your hands and agonize over it, but to move forward and prove that you are better. McCormick will embody this idea by focusing instead on the future, by working to salvage the party's image and proving that the unfortunate occurrences of the past year are not but a hiccup compared to the historical history and political pedigree of the Republican Democrats. We will abandon the legacy of Nixon and cut a new path to the future. Tackling the current issues head-on will demonstrate to the American people that we are still capable of ruling as efficiently as we always have. We must do much to earn back the people's trust, but should we succeed, our tarnished reputation will be restored to greatness. Yeah, I don't want a massive victory. Honestly, like... Do we want to make the NPP... the center look worse? Maybe not. That might be a bit too far. Come on, guys. Stop pushing Dan goal. It's not necessary. Stop going so fucking hard in the motherfucking paint. Jesus. Okay, who's close to capitulating? Southwest Africa is very close to capitulating. Moving past Nixon. Speaker of the White House. As a former Speaker of the House, McCormick occupied a unique position in politics, tasked with leading the House of Reps, presiding over the administration of the House, and the debates held within the position of speakers, at least theoretically as nonpartisan as someone in America in politics can get. The delicate art of mediating between two rival parties requires a certain level of detachment from the inner goings-on of both, as McCormick could use the prestige of his old position to his advantage. By presenting himself as a nonpartisan element uninvolved in the unfortunate scandals of the past, McCormick can distance himself from the taint of the Nixon presidency. Styling himself as a clean, uncorrupted voice within the White House, he could more effectively argue the RD's case and significantly increase our chance of surviving the coming election. Christian Magadan is going after the Soviet Supreme. Polls are updated. Leanings. Yeah, it's brutal right now for the RDs, I gotta say. Also, I think even saving... At this point, I really think we need to save the RDs. Speaker of the White House. Let's go ahead and do... Attempt to curb radicalism. In desperate times, people will turn to anyone who can offer them a solution, no matter how radical or insane the solution is. Indeed, it is in this way that modern Germany came into its nightmarish self. The exact scenario is now being played out across America. As a nation full of scared and uncertain, people jump ship to the NPP. The NPP insists that they, and only they, can be trusted to fix America, promising hardline solutions to America's problems as one might take a sledgehammer to a loose nail. If the RD party is to endure, we must make the people of America see that the ways of the NPP lead to ruin. President McCormick intends to go on the offensive, calling upon all red-blooded Americans to stand firm against radicalism. Their siren song, the likes of which has led so many to poverty and death in so many regimes in history, cannot be allowed to take hold in the U.S. as well. Such a call to action might win back both wavering liberals and moderate conservatives who are considering switching sides. A solid NPP campaign. Good work, everyone. Germany's going after the SS Stadt, Niederlande. Vyatka versus Bashkortostan. It's funny, I haven't seen them survive Bashkira survive this long before. Oh god, Comey versus Front. I think Comey's dead, guys. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Matter of unity, my ass. Yeah, there we go. Normal Holland is back. Occupational authorities. They have a fucking building in charge, guys. Okay, let's talk down. Involvement? Last one at Senate elections. Everyone has spoken. Let's see. Wow, okay, that actually wasn't that big of a landslide, it seems. But the NPP has won, it seems. Okay, wow. No real change in Republicans. The far right lost a couple seats. Yeah. Solid election margin. I mean, what, 317 to 217? That's not bad. The passing of the torch. President McCormick has done all he can with the little time he has. A few last-minute campaigns, speeches, and fevered assaults on the opposition might sway the odd voter here or there. By this point, most people's minds will have been made up. As election night draws nigh, all we can do is sit back and hope it was enough. Whatever happens, the White House must be ready to house its fourth president in 2 years. Jesus. Preparations must be made for the transfer of power for the next commander-in-chief. For the first time in over 100 years, the man may or may not bear an RD next to his name. Whoever wins the election, we must make sure that the handover is as clean and orderly as possible, to ensure that the principles and traditions of democracy are upheld as our nation was founded upon are upheld. The wait is nearly over. The polls are nearly finalized. It's almost time for the historical election season to come to an end. President McCormick and his closest advisors sit in the Oval Office, fingers crossed. Soon comes the moment of truth. Actually, the moment of truth already happened. We won. Across America, today, tens of millions of people have lined up in churches, libraries, schools, and community centers to exercise their right to vote. In Dixville Notch and Hart's location, New Hampshire, excited old-timers gather in their town's ballot rooms at midnight so they could be the first in the nation to vote. Throughout the day, pundits on all three major networks have speculated about who will clinch the necessary electoral college majority to win the White House. Will it be the brash populist coalition of the NPP or the straight, embattled, but still strong incumbents of the RDs? America's faced countless challenges over the past years, from political strife to bloody war. As the night goes on, Walker Cronkite of CBS is the first to announce a projection. The winner of the 1964 election is: the RDs have received 217 electoral votes. The National Progressive Party has received 317 votes. Robert Kennedy has won the election. Man, even my beer has volunteers. Jesus. This is going way too quickly and way too well. Never before have I thought, okay, we're doing too well in a war. But here we are. Well, I'm trying to do the math in my head. That's what? 54 Republicans in center NPP? Yeah, 54, I think. So, with that, they have a majority. Progressives have a majority. And so, do we want to target the center now? Maybe, maybe not. Oh god, Magadan is not doing well. Uh-oh. McCormick had never seen so many numbers in his life. Right now, as the rest of the country headed out to the polls to cast their vote in what had become the most divisive election in living memory, all I could do was sit and examine the endless sheets of papers stacked on the desks. Newspapers, stat sheets, communiques from all across the country. The contents of the paper were varied, but on each of them he had circled the particular stats he was looking for the polls. The New York Times said the RDs stood a good chance in Iowa, while the Boston Globe predicted a bloodbath in the NPP's favor. Pollsters in Illinois seemed confident that the Republican senator would keep their seat, but the news from Louisiana was not so encouraging, and see McCormick gorged himself on poll numbers, feeling his heart sink as every poll showing and subsequent swore at every promising result. Yet he felt himself growing increasingly frustrated at the pollsters seeming incapable of agreeing with one another. The final results remained as unclear as ever. The uncertainty made him feel sick to his stomach. He knew he hadn't always made the right choices, and the NPP were stronger now than he always had before. Nixon and Kennedy were the main reasons he was in this mess, yet history would remember him as a man who made or broke the Republican Democrats. As night wore on and the official vote count began, McCormick felt his eyelids begin to droop. Resting his head upon a copy of the Washington Post, he felt his thoughts and fears ebb away. As the sleep finally took him, he resigned himself to the knowledge that he would wake up to a brand new president. Whoever that might be. Sleep well, caretaker president. Let's do Operation Homestead. Let's go ahead and fund the Gibraltar Dam. Operation commenced. Keep paying off that debt. Overwhelming support has been finished up. More gunship support. I guess support companies. Fuck it. 2 doctrines at once. We normally get bogged down fronts. Oh god, that's not good. State election results are in. Polls are updated. It's already over, guys. What are you talking about? Speaking of over, I'm going to have to wrap it up here, folks. Thank you as always for watching. If you like this video, go and leave a like. If not, feel free to dislike. If you want to see more of this content in the future, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for more uploads every weekday, as well as every Saturday. If you have any comments, feedback, concerns, anything of the sort, go ahead and leave in the comment section below. I read all the comments I get and appreciate any all feedback you might have for me. If you want to send a few bucks my way, I have a Patreon. If you want to chat and play games, I have a Discord. If you want to see me do this sort of stuff live, I have a Twitch, all of which are down in the description box below. Thank you as always for watching, ladies and gentlemen. My name has been DB333, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.